All right, week 5 college football breakdown here. Good SEC matchup in that early window. Kentucky, still somehow the 7th-ranked team in the country, heading to Oxford to take on number 14 Ole Miss. Ole Miss at home, 7-point favorite here, and a pretty standard total at 53.5. This Kentucky team is not a top 10 team in the country. I know they beat Florida, but I mean, I wouldn't say they've looked all that good to start the year. And yes, winning on the road at Florida is a big deal. But this is a team that's not looked their sharpest. And the one area that I'm talking about when I say that is their offensive line. I mean, they give up 5 sacks against Northern Illinois last week, 4 sacks against Youngstown State, 4 sacks against Miami of Ohio. I mean, if you're having trouble with those, MAC level fronts, how do you think you're going to translate against this Ole Miss defense? It's kind of funny because Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin kind of has this perception as an offense-first guy, and he still is, don't get me wrong. But the makeup of this roster, I think this Ole Miss defense is better than their offense. I think they're good at really all 3 levels. I think their secondary is probably the strength. Fared well against the run this year, but they've really proven capable of getting after the quarterback. And, if those level of teams are giving Kentucky's offensive line that much trouble, then I worry about what Ole Miss is going to be able to do in that pass rushing department. So first thing that sticks out to me is that. And that's why Kentucky's one of those teams, until they get that offensive line figured out, it's just going to be tough to trust them. Obviously, they got Will Levis, who I saw something today, like people saying Will Levis is going to be the first overall pick. That is lunacy. He is over 10 yards per attempt, which I like. He's just not a very consistent player. He had some games last year that were just kind of head scratching, 2 of which came on the road. So I wouldn't really want to back him in this spot. It's not all bad, though. Kentucky does welcome back Chris Rodriguez Jr., who was their bell cow running back from a year ago. He's been suspended here for the first 4 weeks, but I mean, he was over 6 yards a carry last year, almost 1,400 yards on the ground. It's a big addition to get back, and just in time for this heavyweight matchup. I'm interested to see kind of what his workload is like. I mean, I doubt we see him carry the ball over 20 times in this game. Maybe it's way less than that. I don't know how Mark Stoops is going to handle that, really. It'll be interesting to see kind of how that gets sorted out. I just kind of, said what I had to say about Kentucky, but I have questions about this Ole Miss offense too. And theirs is a little bit different because I think that they are good up front. They've proven to be quite good up front on their offensive line. I don't know how much of that is just due to, them playing clearly inferior competition. They're really good running the football when healthy, but that's kind of an issue too. Zach Evans, who's their big transfer running back from TCU, really explosive player. He's questionable for Saturday, and I've heard people say that they don't think he's going to play. If Zach Evans doesn't play, I know they still ran the ball pretty well last week, but that just hurts their explosiveness in that run department considerably because this is a Kentucky team that can stop the run. I think a guy like Zach Evans could get after them a little bit, but if you're talking about, maybe your 3rd string running back coming into the year, I would give Kentucky's front 7 the edge in that matchup. Quite frankly, I'm not sold on Jackson Dart. He wasn't really clear if he was going to win the job coming out of camp. He kind of got lucky that Luke Altmaier got hurt early in the season. Given that you're playing Georgia Tech and, Troy, clearly inferior competition to start the year. Yeah, Jackson Dart, who's a 5-star quarterback, is probably going to look pretty good. He's still a young player. He's still adjusting, and this is his first SEC matchup. I'm interested to see how that goes. I mean, he's been somewhat okay down the field, but just 62% completion here in some of these easier games. I feel like Kentucky is not going to get beat over the top in this matchup. I don't think Ole Miss is as strong at that wide receiver position as a lot of people would just assume. This is really not – I think the perception around Ole Miss and their offense and just around their team really and how they're built is completely different from their reality. I think this is a team that's going to be led by their defense this year. I think they're going to have some inconsistent quarterback play. I do lean pretty heavily towards the under at this point. This is one I'm recording this on Thursday. Haven't made a move on this game yet. But if I were to make a move, I'd probably play the under in this game. It's come down a little bit. I saw it at 54 last night mostly. And so now seeing it at 53.5. Really anything above 52, I think I would still lean pretty heavily towards the under. And I'm still kind of mulling over what my additions are going to be this week. And this is certainly on that short list to be an official play for me. So best look on this game is the under. I think Ole Miss wins the game. I actually think this spread is about right. Before we get out of here, guys, I know you've been staring at the shirt the whole time. If you're wondering how you can look as cool and sexy as me, let me tell you, proud90.com, unique but very comfortable polos as well. They got t-shirts, hoodies, quarter zips, recently added a ladies line. Proud 90's got all your golf apparel needs. Browse their selection. If you see anything you like at checkout, use code Fordham. It's going to get you 15% off your entire order. Check the description for more information.